Hello everyone, welcome back. Another update on the big trip number 2. I just arrived in Costa Rica yesterday and had spent the last 9 weeks or so at a couple communities, Earthaven in North Carolina and Twin Oaks, Virginia. So this video will be about my time there in the community and what it was like and my process. And just acknowledging, I think I've said this in past videos, but this is my experience going to these communities at these times and these seasons with the people that are there, the events that are happening at that time. So it's always going to be totally different depending on the person and the time and just so many factors. So yeah, first I'll talk about Earthaven and then Twin Oaks. So Earthaven in North Carolina near Asheville has been around for 30 years. There's about 110 people there. I was there for 4.5 weeks in September and October. They're mainly off-grid as far as electricity with solar and hydro, although they have some of their structures and they have they're just kind of split into these neighborhoods in this big piece of property with they actually did consider it a rainforest, and they had lots of little rivers going through, and they were split into these neighborhoods where I'm used to other communities. Things are more connected and the structures are closer together. So it did seem like everything was spread out a lot more into these neighborhoods, and I guess they said that they had done that just because of the geography of the land and wanting to be able to grow more food and things. Although yeah, it did seem like it did contribute to less connection, or just people seeing each other less or spending less time together. I did a work exchange there, which was only 15 hours per week, which was really nice. Usually it's 20 to 25 hours, so I was happy about that. I stayed in a house called the Wheelhouse, which actually wasn't really in one of the neighborhoods. It kind of was on its own. There's about 3 to 6 people that lived there. And it was a little more difficult than other work exchanges. I'm used to going to a community. I join as a work exchanger. There's other work exchangers that I get to meet, work with, bond with, whether I'm joining in and they're already there, or I'm coming as this cohort of work exchangers where we get to bond and kind of have our own group together. But yeah, when I was working, I was just basically working for this house and working with 1 or 2 people or alone. Although, when the hurricane hit, I got to work a lot with the community there, which I'll talk about a little later. But yeah, I guess just noticing how nice it is when I go to these other work exchange programs at other communities and get to bond with them, and how that really integrated me into the community and working with people in the community through that, and how I didn't really get that so much with this. But just really loved the rainforest there and all the rivers and the nature. So I might have talked about this lady, Diana Leaf Christian, in the past videos. She has written a couple books about community and is kind of a leader activist in the communities movement, especially in the U.S. She had visited 170 communities and writes this book called Creating a Life Together, which is kind of the manual for creating an intentional community and having it sustain. And then she says, 90% of communities don't make it and 10% of them do, and here's why, and here's how to make them sustain. And then she has this other book, which I didn't know about, and she actually sent me individual chapters and things from it called Finding a Community, which is more about I don't want to build a community, I just want to find one. So it's really cool to be able to hang out with her and learn directly and have her just send me lots of content. Yeah, she was saying so in her book Creating a Life Together, she really advocates for consensus, and now she's saying that that's kind of the old model, and that it's almost hitting the gas and the brake on a car at the same time, and that we're making a decision, and it's maybe this community really is into it and wants to do it, and then all it takes is for one person to block it, and that stops the whole thing from happening. And so what they have is a modified consensus, I think, that is 85% majority. I think they kind of use sociocracy as well. I'm not totally sure, but she was saying that sociocracy is basically the best decision-making governance model, but it's really important for everyone to be trained with it. And just, yeah, was so impressed by the meetings and the facilitators, and just again seeing like how much healthy meetings and councils lead to a healthy community, and like needing people to be trained with that, having really good facilitators, people asking questions and like taking a stack of questions, having an agenda, note taker, person taking notes on the computer versus like someone on the whiteboard so everyone can see it. I really missed what Lost Valley was doing though, as far as they would have these like nonverbal sign languages during the meetings. I don't think I've seen any other community do that, and I really loved that and missed it. And yeah, just learning a lot from Diana, as far as like, she talked about a resident application process as being like this door for people to be able to come into the community, and that some of them are a lot easier than others. And it's like, is it super open where it's very easy for people to join the community, in which case maybe difficult people are really easily able to get into the community, which can not be the best? Or is it a little more difficult for people to become part of it and be able to join as a member or resident? And that we see that healthy people are able to really go through those processes more easily, and then basically yeah, having a resident application process be intricate and in-depth enough that it's a good filter for like making sure that the person's the right person for the community. And that there's 3 types of conflict: interpersonal, structural, unresolvable, behavioral, as far as like conflict in a community. And a lot of times, I'm having trouble with this person in the community, and we think that it is interpersonal, but it's really a structural problem, and that our resident application process is not extensive enough, and we're just kind of letting in whoever. And like, if it was extensive enough, this person wouldn't have got in, and then we wouldn't be having these conflicts. Yeah, and then as far as this community, or this book, Finding Community, there's a list of questions that one can ask a community if they're trying to assess if it's a community that they want to live in. And I have that list, so let me know if you'd like. I can send it to you. Also, Diana was saying that when you're trying to find a community and you're visiting them, have a really good picture of like what I want in community. And she says, create a list of everything that I want in a community, like my perfect community, what I want it to look like. And then split that list into 3 sections of non-negotiables, strongly desired, and then just like kind of desired. So I was able to do that, and it brought a lot of clarity. And just, reflecting on like kids and children in my life, and that I don't really have that. And like back home, is mainly the people in my life are kind of more adults or like around my age, and how much I love having all generations in my life. And I feel like I have this fear that like homeschool kids are going to be missing a lot of information and missing a lot of socializing skills, or like meeting a lot of people. I think of the movie Captain Fantastic, where his kids are like super geniuses, but they lack the social skills because they've just like spent their entire lives from just that family of like 6 or 7 people, and not actually been around a lot of other people in society. But I guess what I've seen in communities, and what I've heard other people say, is that these kids that are growing up in these communities are super emotionally intelligent, smart, high functioning, actually have like a lot less fear than I think I've seen in other kids. Um, and how teens don't rebel as much when they live in community. They like to hang out with their families and adults and other adults who aren't their parents. They share a lot of the same values as the community. They hang out with other ages. Like usually in society, it's all the fourth graders hang out with the fourth graders, and all the 8-year-olds hang out with the 8-year-olds. And what we see in the communities is that kids hang out with like all different ages, and I think that helps as far as like just like supporting each other and teaching each other. Like the older kids are taking care of like the younger ones. And there's a bunch of kids at Earthaven, and they actually I got to hang out with them a lot, and they created a whole sub community there called Fort Village, where they welcomed me in and gave me like a whole tour of all their forts in this little village. It was like in a piece of the forest, and they had a whole resident application process to like add me to their fort village, and had like ethical questions and gave me a quiz at the end. And it gave me like they said you have to build a fort by Tuesday next week if you want to be a member. I got to see them have councils where they had a facilitator, a co-facilitator, a note taker, an agenda, just like super organized, and was just like blown away and just very impressed. So yeah, when I got there, and then a week later we were hit by the Hurricane Helene, I think it was called, which apparently was like the biggest storm that Western North Carolina had gotten since 1916. And it was just really cool to be there during that, and to get to see this community of like 110 what I judge to be high functioning hippies all working together. And that someone else was saying like, if these people didn't live here and work here, they probably would be working for like NASA or something. And I agree. I was just like, wow, this is so cool to see all these people working together. And the hurricane hit, like all the roads were tore up, all the bridges were like broken, a bunch of trees were down, and we were all able to like get together and clean it up like very quickly. And just seeing the power of being in community and being able to support each other and work together. And like all the neighboring communities or houses around the area in that like little mountain town, people didn't have that. And we're off grid, we still have electricity, we have wells, so we still have water. Like the entire town of Asheville didn't have water, so they're all like bringing in these plastic big jugs. And just loving seeing like the energy and the connection of everyone working together passionately to save the community. It was kind of funny / strange that I was at Tamara and I was at the Llama Foundation this last year, and like they pray every day for more water. And then when I was at Earthaven, we were like praying for less water, because there was talk of like a possible another hurricane coming, and we were like literally praying for that like not to happen. And I'm like, okay, maybe we should be praying for like a balance of water, because I don't know. One of my main intentions, going to these communities, is really like finding out what I want in my community that I'm eventually going to live in, what I don't want, what's possible, so that I have a better understanding of what I want. And just seeing that, at Earthaven and Twin Oaks, which are both communities that are not really like so spiritually focused or religiously focused, and realizing how much that I really want that. And a lot of things I was missing. The spirituality, having classes, workshops, inner growth, processing, sharing circles, breath work, dance, intimacy, authentic relating. Like, these are all things that I really love and need, and wasn't getting them. Also, just like missing, I've been traveling for like 7 months now, and I just really miss being home. I miss being around people that really know me. It's a lot of energy to be investing in like building new relationships all the time. I was missing being around people my age. There's just like a pretty big age gap. There's only like a couple people that are around my age. So just not that many like 20 or 30-year-olds. Missing dance, touch, cuddles, romance, sexuality. So yeah, I was just really missing those, and just seeing how I really, again, want to live in a community that's close to another city, that I can leave and go into the city just to like get away, experience new things, meet new people, dance, get my needs met that aren't met there at the community. And it did seem like people were very touchy and cuddly at Earthaven, especially compared to other communities. Like, I saw that a lot around me, and just, I'm the only work exchanger coming in, and it's like, here's this new person, and it takes a long time to build, or it can take a while to develop trust, to be able to like join in and into that cuddliness with people and feel like comfortable with that on both sides. Some insights I really had found being at Earthaven was, I think I have this idea that if I have like infinite free time, that's where I'm going to be like the most productive. I'm going to be the happiest and like the most successful. But just really seeing how I need to have a balance of like work, breaks, time, having fun and being social. That's really when I am the most productive and the happiest. And I found that like the best structure of the day or schedule for that was like me working or like kind of doing things alone in the morning, and then having lunch, and then working after that, because after lunch I usually get kind of tired. So if I go work, then that kind of brings my energy back up, and then going and being alone and kind of like working on my projects and things after that, and then being like social and having fun in the evening. And just realizing, like, I remember being back at Pachamama, and my intention really was like, it was hard for me to be alone, and that like I really was sort of I was having a hard time with like being alone, and that was my intention, was like having contentment and happiness in being alone, switching from lonely to alone. And I really have been finding that I've been having that in these communities. And I think there's multiple things happening, especially like these communities not having all of my needs. It's easier for me to just kind of do my own thing. But also maybe the season as well. I'm like going into my winter. I'm wanting to just like rest more and feeling more introverted in general. But just noticing, that I feel happier and content and getting my alone time, and it feels like a good balance. Another kind of insight I had was that I just feel like I feel less motivation or like trying less to make people like me, or feeling like I need to make people like me. And I heard some podcasts that said something along the lines of like 10% of people are going to really 10% of people aren't going to like me. 80% of people are going to be kind of neutral. 10% are going to be huge fans of me. And just realizing like, I want to like pour my energy into the people that I really resonate with, and that we just like sync up together really well. And that I also, maybe these other people aren't liking me because I am, I don't know, being triggering or harming in some way. And I do want to be aware of that and not be causing harm, and being kind to others and things too. So at the same time, but I also am just like, I want to hang out with the 10% that are big fans of Austin too, and that I'm fans of them too. Also, seeing the difference between hope and faith, and that hope is having a desire for a certain outcome, and faith is really trusting in the divine order to unfold how it's supposed to. So I love that distinction. So I'd actually left Earthaven a week and a half early and gone to my friend's small house and co-op community near Asheville in North Carolina. His name's Josh. I met him at Tamara actually last year. So hung out with them. It's like 7 people in this house and co-op that has like 6 structures or so with some shared common spaces. But it was right next to Asheville, which is very similar to Santa Cruz as far as like abundance of dances, conscious community, cuddles, intimacy, touch, friends, fun. Like Dirtwire came, Yaima came. We all went to this waterfall one day. We got an Airbnb for one night together, and we're just like doing authentic relating for a big portion of the night. So it was just really great to go into the community and be able to get like all of my needs met there. And it felt so similar to Santa Cruz. And again, it felt like I was just around people my age. And I'm like, I wonder, I do want to have this intergenerational, multi-generational. I have the intention of living around all ages rather than just what I kind of have been doing for a while, just like people my age. Okay, so yeah, now I'm going to talk about Twin Oaks, Virginia, where I went. Spent the last 3 weeks there, here in November. They are in between Charlottesville and Richmond in Virginia. They've been around since 1967, so about 57 years. They have 550 acres. Their motto is study living well with others. They have a 501d as their like legal structure, which is kind of like a monastery. They're a commune, which means that they're technically income sharing, and so I'll get a little more into what that means. But they have a quota of everyone doing 38.5 hours per week together, which even as a work exchanger, me being there for 3 weeks, I still was, that was the agreement that I would do that, which I was like, whoa, I'm used to like 20 or 25 hours per week. That's a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But actually, like half of those hours were going towards orientations where they were teaching us about the community, which is really cool because that's like why I was going to communities, to really learn about them. And I didn't realize how much teaching they were going to be doing about the community. They really value equity, and that, you know, like BIPOC people did less hours. They have a pension, so once you are getting older, you get to do less hours. Parents only do half of the quota amount of hours for the first year their child is born. They had about 110 people in the community, and they were really great at regulating the population and controlling kind of the ages of people. And they really had a wide spectrum of like all ages there, which I loved. And like regulating how many men versus women are there, and that like one of the groups, like it can't be more than 15% of the other, and that there was like a 20% non-binary. Definitely a pretty large queer community there as well. We had Coldvember, so the entire month of November there's a group of people that go by the pond, which is really pretty every day, and cold plunge, which I loved. And I was talking to one of my liaisons there about like why, you know, they're at like max capacity as far as how many people they can have there at the community, and have been for a while. And I guess there's like 10 to 20% of members leave per year, which is pretty low. And that they have a median stay of about 9 years, which is pretty high. Because a lot of these communities I go to around the world are trying to get more people to join and to stay there for longer, and wondering like why they're not. And so we were talking about like, why are people staying here? And we were kind of speculating some things that we have here. Like they have a visitor program which really brings people in and preps them, and like has them really get on the same page and everyone knows a lot, like what they're joining, and just really informed about the community before joining. I think just their governance style in general is like a little bit less organized. So there's like, I don't know, just less conflict. People are more like go with the flow there, it seemed. I think a big reason that people are staying there is that it's shared income and that it's very financially accessible for a lot of people, and that like they just join and all their finances are taken care of and they just have to work their 38.5 hours per week. There's like no fees on top of that. And then also, yeah, my liaison was saying that there's a lot of courts. Like walking around the community, just down on the ground, like on the ground, is just this big hunk of courts everywhere. So maybe that was also another reason. So yeah, they're a commune, meaning that they're income sharing, and they used to be pretty famous for producing hammocks and tofu, and now they don't do hammocks anymore. They do produce tofu, although that's kind of on its phase out, possibly. A big thing they do is seed production, though. They have southern something seed production. So they sell like the little bags of seeds that you find at the store. And as a community, it's like 110 people. They only make like $600,000 per year. So everyone is, making like $6,000 for themselves. So everyone can qualify for a lot of like government assistance as far as like Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicaid, whatever those are. And yeah, so they're very like trust based. They are just trusting that people are doing the amount of hours. They have these sheets that your labor sheet that you fill out the work that you're doing to kind of keep people accountable. But they're really just trusting that people aren't like cheating the system. You are making $75 per month, which is like hardly anything. So it's like you can't save money, basically. You can't build equity. Everything's very equal and equitable, but it feels like it's a lot less free. So it's like, I don't think I could do income sharing, and that like, it's nice that there's a car co-op and that we're sharing cars, but it's also like pretty expensive to take a car out unless you're sharing it with like a bunch of people. I can't just like take a car, my car, whenever I want. I can't make money and like spend it the way that I want. I can't buy things that I want for myself. You can work outside of the community on top of your 38.5 hours, and then you can spend that money that you made when you're outside of the community, so like on vacation or something. I wouldn't, like, people can't really pursue like their own work passions and things, unless you want to do it like, on top of the 38.5 hours. Vacations are limited. There's like 2.5 hours per week. So you can't just like, yeah, I just wouldn't be able to just take off and do like my own thing as free as I normally would, it seems. I did like that we didn't have to wash dishes. You just put them in a dish tub, and then someone does them, and then you sign up for your one dish shift per week. Pretty much every community I went to, there's a free store, like a thrift store, and Twin Oaks definitely had the best that I've ever seen. It was big, organized, had a lot of really cool things and clothes in it. Yeah, some things that I had a hard time with, again, substance use. Like, it's kind of just a norm that people are smoking weed just like in common spaces. They grow their own weed there. I didn't necessarily see people that altered compared to like other communities, like Dancing Rabbit. There was like a lot of, not a lot, but I definitely, people were like drinking and smoking there, and it was around. And yeah, just seeing that again and just realizing that I'm not wanting that where I'm living. Just, what I judge to be just like the recreational use of, I don't know, drugs and alcohol. And again, just missing a lot of my needs. Kind of similar things I talked about before, as far as like a spiritual community, touch, dance, um, yeah. And again, it's their winter. There wasn't that much things really happening. Um, it was pretty interesting too. I never saw the whole community together. Everyone, like, I'm used to, like, when we have a meal, everyone circles around the meal and we like say some sort of prayer, or say what the food is, and like that never happened. There wasn't like really meetings that I was aware of that were happening. Um, yeah, as far as governance, it was pretty foggy as far as like what exactly their governance style and decision making was. Apparently there's like 1 to 2 managers per area, and there's a bunch of different areas, from like garden to kitchen to composting toilets to um, childcare, whatever. 1 to 2 manager per area, and then it's like they basically just like make the decisions, it sounds like, and everyone's kind of just okay with that. And if it needs to like be moved up, then it's moved up to a council, and then it's moved up to a planner. And at any time things can be overridden, and then they are like put up on this board where people vote on it, and it needs like a 51% majority rule to be overridden. I don't know. I didn't really understand it that well, but apparently it's working very well. And it sounds like they're just really giving the power to these managers to make the decisions. And I think the managers are like really wanting to make decisions based off of, representing the people really well, because they're going to hear about it from the people if they don't. And the positions have terms, so they're on rotation of not the same people making the decisions. And then lastly, yeah, just another insight I had being at Twin Oaks was that I just felt a lot more flowy as far as like what I wanted to do in that moment, and then doing it. And then I feel like, I have my get to do list, I call it, which is like all these things that I feel like I need to do as far as like my responsibilities, or just like projects that I'm working on and things. And a lot of them, like, I don't really need to do that much. It's just like things that I create that I want to do, that I sort of feel a little bit of pressure from myself to do and to work on them. And really feeling like I'm only gonna do it if I feel like I really want to, and I feel motivated in that moment, and it feels good, and it feels easy, and I'm not gonna force myself to do anything that I don't want to. And I just feel like playing guitar for like the next couple hours, and I'm just gonna do that. So yeah, been writing lots of new songs and playing lots of guitar. So that's it. That is the update for now. Thank you all. I love you and I miss you. And I will, from here, I'll be in Costa Rica, going to a community tomorrow called Awake in Uvita, Costa Rica. And then I go to Thailand for about 6 weeks. And then I'm coming home end of February, March. Okay, love you. Bye.